unfiltered opinions.
Introduce me.
Sometimes you have ideas and you're not quite sure why.
As you secure the bag.
Sometimes you meet people and realize there's probably a reason why you stayed in touch.
Just listen.
Sometimes all the pieces just come together by themselves.
I'm Jimmy Moyaha.
And I'm Simon Brown.
Welcome to Insider Exchange.
Got it. Welcome to another episode of Insider Exchange. We thought we'd try something new as the month of November kicks off. We are going to be live streaming our Market Matters segments from today onwards. We hope that this adds a bit more value to our community. We hope that in engaging with us in real time, you're able to get a sense of what we're actually thinking. And we thought we'd do things differently for Market Matters because we can now have the conversations at the start of the week and look forward to what's happening in the week and possibly reflect on the week that was. And in keeping with that, we're going to continue to do our Market Matters segments live. The other segments will still be put out throughout the week as well as we have before. But this segment in particular would be live. If you miss the conversation, don't worry. YouTube apparently records these things and you'll be able to catch up on our page under the live tab. That being said, we're going to get straight into Market Matters, and we're joined in studio by a friend of ours, Sean Dendere, who is the head of trading services, or manager for trading services rather, at Trive. They bring us this segment, and they've partnered with us on this particular live segment. Sean, thanks so much for joining us. Thanks for taking the time. Before we get into just the matters of the week and the market matters, if you could build a fantasy team or fantasy list of stocks, right? Let's build that. What does that look like?
Interesting. You caught me off guard with that one. But I had a scapegoat and just be like, oh, Magnificent Seven. That would be my fantasy team, right?
Good luck now.
Well, I mean, AI is here to stay. So I do think that, the Magnificent Seven will be here to stay for a very long time. Especially with, the likes of NVIDIA going crazy, for lack of a better term, right? And obviously, I just want to plug into the rest of, the stocks that I'm looking at. Obviously, Facebook, Google, Amazon, etc. They need to plug in playing. They're basically playing catch up currently. And once they catch up, in my opinion, I think that we're going to shoot for the stars.
Okay, so are you putting all of the Magnificent Seven in? Okay, cool. So then you've got.
You didn't allow me to research this.
So then you've got what, four or five places left, starting 11. Give me another 4.
Okay, interesting.
They can be local, they can be international.
Fun fact, so NVIDIA went into the Dow Jones on Friday. Ooh. The Dow Jones, the most useless, silliest index. It's a price-weighted index. It's the silliest thing that anyone ever made. Carry on.
There we go.
That was just my fun fact for the morning.
All right, cool. So you're saying I have 5, right?
4.
So 4. So locally, I'm going to look at, obviously, ShopRite.
Okay.
I mean, that's definitely going to be in that portfolio. It doesn't seem to be slowing down in Africa and in South Africa at large. We're going to take, I think I'm going to go into some of the banks. Primarily, I like Standard Bank.
Okay.
I think that, they able to swim in the tide, right? Depending on what's happening in our economy, whether the interest rates are high, low, etc. I think they're running a good ship as opposed to our other friends in red.
Yeah. You said it, not us.
No, I'm just saying. I'm just putting it out.
Yeah.
Okay, what are we on now?
We're on 9. We need 2 more. They don't have to be South African. They can be
2
Asian,
more.
European.
2
doesn't
more.
matter.
Okay, interesting. 2 more stocks that I'll think of now. I would definitely go for something EV. I'm not too sure, but Chinese.
Okay,
right?
so BYD is your option there.
BYD.
There we go, right?
Okay.
There you go.
Is that a defensive play? Is that a midfield kind of?
No, it's a midfield. It's a midfield. Okay. I think that, in my opinion, right, from a prospect perspective, I do think in the long term, it's going to be a very serious competitor to Tesla. And you can actually see what it's doing, to the European market. They're trying to put regulations in because those cars are coming in cheap and also at quite a decent quality. So if we're going to be going green, it's a good alternative to have outside of, the leader of the pack being Tesla. And then my last stock would be Super Microcomputer. Right? It's a bit of a risky one.
You're a brave man.
Where are you putting that?
You see, I'm putting
On the
at number
left
9. Number 9 to say,
Number 9.
listen, when
Yeah.
you catch the ball, just shoot.
Yeah.
Just shoot, right? I think they were doing quite well earlier in the year, in the past 2 years. I think going back into that AI space, right, they basically construct or they are the mapping of the chips. So, for example, NVIDIA can't build, their chips without the architecture of companies such as Supermicro Computers. So, over the long term, if we fix our management and some of the fines that came through, there's definitely potential. There's definitely upside potential there. It's a risky play, but I am willing to put in the risk. But I guess it's also an age thing, right? Gotta just
Got time on your side.
Got time on my side. Got time on my side.
Another fun fact, Supermicro Computer having a press conference, 5 p.m. California time on Tuesday, while everyone is going to be looking at the election.
Yes. What's the best time if you want information to just pass through unnoticed? Do it in the middle of an election.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's Sean's starting 11. We'll see how that starting 11 looks. We'll put it up on our pages and on our socials, and we'll get some feedback on that. Very interesting starting 11. Let's get into market matters. We've got a couple of things happening this week. Sai alluded to the elections, and that we're going to leave for last because that's the biggest thing. And it's clearly like nothing else matters. I mean, we literally have FOMC interest rate decision this week. We've got a Bank of England interest rate decision this week, but the markets couldn't be bothered.
110%. I think the markets are quite neutral because we have to see what happens on Tuesday, right? Wednesday, sorry. And then...
Well, it starts today, technically, goes into tomorrow, and then results hopefully by Wednesday, I guess.
Hopefully by Wednesday.
Yeah.
So I think people are scared because we don't know whether obviously Kamala is going to win or Donald's going to win. I think with Kamala, there's definitely going to be, or not definitely, but a sign of policy continuation, right?
Yes. Democrat into Democrat.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That kind of keeps the ship steady, if we're speaking about ships. With Donald Trump, obviously very pro-America, America first. I mean, he's also been in the game before, and we know the type of president that he is, right? So that we have to just basically look at the markets from a place of day by day perspective. Up until at least, I wouldn't even say Wednesday, maybe for the rest of
Thursday,
November.
Friday.
Thursday,
Yeah.
Friday.
Well, yeah,
I don't
even
know.
November
It's
as well.
gonna
like
be a
you're right.
while.
Yeah,
It's going to be a
gonna
while for everything to be priced in, all the drama, all the new policy implementations, etc. So that's what I believe. That very neutral week. It's going to be very volatile. Because sometimes I always look at elections like from a trader's perspective, it becomes a betting game. It becomes a gamble. So it's going to come in with super, super high volatility.
Anything with Donald J. Trump associated with it, for me, has historically just been a gamble. Like you said, there's never been a time where I can think of in history where putting Donald's name next to a leadership position equals stability.
Yeah, but I agree with you and I hear you, but it's also interesting because I was listening to a podcast here, an American podcast on the way here, and they were talking about unprecedented and all of that sort of thing. And the one person said, well, yes, no, maybe. I mean, think about Lincoln and the elections of 1880 when there was civil war brewing. I mean, think about Nixon. I mean, think about the assassinations in the 60s, all of that sort of thing. I mean, we sit here now and maybe social media amplifies it. And we think this is the most consequential. I don't know. I mean, certainly we've got, what Donald Trump did in 2016 was show a way for non-career politicians to get to the top.
Yes.
And also to show a way where the truth was just the least most important thing of your campaign strategy. But I mean, so it is weird. But I take your point. I mean, it is at this point, I think, day by day. And I think markets are, everything else. I mean, you mentioned FOMC, BoE. Normally that would be the story this week. It's like, they're going to cut 0.25%. Moving on.
We're not even looking at it.
Add a side point to what Simon added there is that what's interesting about Donald Trump's victory in 2016 is that in America, numbers actually don't matter because Hillary had
more votes.
Oh, well, yeah,
Absolutely.
Hillary actually had, if it was here, she would have been the president.
Yes. But and that's going to be our deep dive. We're going to be deep diving into the US electoral system. Thanks for throwing forward to that for us, Sean. We're going to look at that because it has such a big bearing on how things shape up and play out and all of that. But coming back to Sai's point around the fact that markets couldn't be bothered. We got news out of China that the Chinese government was meeting, sitting down to have discussions around fleshing out that stimulus package. And Asian markets were in the green. South African markets are in the green at the moment. But even that doesn't seem to be taking away from the shine of the fact that Donald Trump could be returning to the White House.
100%. You know, this week, big news isn't big news besides the
There's
elections.
big news and then there's news.
Exactly. So breaking news. Now, breaking news, we'll see that on Wednesday. For now, like we said, day by day. But I think with China, right, just taking away from, you know, the elections that everyone seems to be focusing on, it is quite important that we keep an eye on what their stimulus package looks like, because like you said, you know, Asian markets are green, knock-on effect to South Africa being green. And if that stimulus package comes in and it's market friendly in order for them to rejig the system that they've been trying to rejig since COVID, I think, and I'm going to go back into the elections, unfortunately, I think that China doing well, right, will maybe protect us as Africa or South Africa from a Donald Trump victory. So we need China to do what they need to do as one of our biggest, you know, trade partners. And with China, it's obviously been consistent. It's been the same government for the most part. And you kind of know what they're going to do, what's coming, etc. Besides this point, because obviously they announced this a while back, and then they didn't give us more information on that. I was like, oh, guys, we're going to save the economy. Great, markets
We'll tell you later.
for like a day, but we'll tell you later. We're going to think about it a second.
But I think to your point, Sean, and Sai, you and I have spoken about this, where the US, the biggest fallout we're concerned about in South African terms is a trade protectionist Donald Trump being bad for Africa. But this is an interesting point now that China could insulate or potentially absorb some of what we'd lose out on, and it could actually end up still kind of balancing things out. But when we look at that, how do you reconcile the China picture with what's happening in the US now? The elections are happening, the interest rates are happening and everything. And Friday we got probably one of the worst non-farms misses we've seen in recent times, and the market didn't even bat an eye.
Well, market didn't bat again, elections, but you raise an interesting point around the shift of China. And let's be clear, I mean, Trump started the war on China. Biden's continued it, and Kamala Harris is likely to continue it as well. It's just the levels of extreme. You know, Trump wants to put 60% tariffs on everything out of China, whereas Biden was more pointed, more tech-focused. But it's that split in the world, and it runs along two lines, and it's the same line. We've spoken around gold and the sort of weaponization of the US dollar, which has resulted in a lot of central bank buying from the likes of China, Russia, India, et cetera, and the other split, of course, is BRICS, which, say what you will for BRICS, but there is a queue of nations who want to suddenly join it and you know, use the BRICS currency and bank and stuff. We spoke about that last week, but it's that split that is happening. And I suppose, in a sense, I mean, I'm the odd one here. It kind of reminds me of the Cold War, but the Cold War was military, and you had sort of communism, USSR, and the US, Europe on the other hand. Now we're kind of getting into the China's, India's, Russia's, again, US on the other hand, but it's economic.
That could be interesting. That could be, I mean, we could very well be in the midst of a third or fourth or fifth world war, whatever we want to call it, but it is on very different terms.
Third World War will be fought in the markets.
There we go. And if you are looking to get involved in the Third World War with us in the markets, we are live streaming. Drop us your comments. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to engage with you. Drop us your questions. Maybe we can answer them while we are on the stream. As I said, the stream won't be for the full show. It'll be for a portion of the show, but you get to enjoy it with us while we are here. Economic war in the markets. Let's wrap that up, because that's interesting, because that's so many different elements to it, right? You've got your defensive lines, China, the US, but they're also on the offensive. You've got us caught in the middle, and you're like,
which side are we going?
Where do we go? What
Exactly.
happens? You know? And I think this is something you and I spoke about when we did one of our other episodes, to say there comes a time where, as a country, South Africa, you kind of need to put down your foot and say, we're going to do what's good for South Africa. And if that means picking a side, are we brave enough to pick a side that is us? So we don't have to pick East or West. but why not pick South Africa as a side?
Taking a page out of Donald Trump's page, eh?
Yeah.
Book. Pick a side.
And to a degree, we do. And to a degree, to your earlier point, is that if we lose out because of a Trump presidency, and AGOA springs to mind, notwithstanding it's minute in the US world, it's big in Africa's world. Let's be clear about
Precisely.
that. And not just South Africa, Africa. There's a lot, we tend to think AGOA is about us. It's not. There's many other countries.
yeah.
Hey, look north, guys.
We might be upgraded. We might be upgraded to no longer qualify for the AGOA thing.
And it's those shifting allegiances. What we can do, and we claim to be non-aligned, and that let's not go down that river. But it almost lets us, in an ideal world, gives us best of both, right? We can kind of pick and choose where we want to
Non-aligned,
do.
yeah.
But it's going to be weird. I mean, you mentioned BYD. So US is going to put huge tariffs on Chinese EVs. Europe's doing the same. And China's like, yeah, you guys aren't even 10% of the world.
Exactly.
Cool. We'll take the rest of the world. You can have your 10%. We got the rest.
And that's what you're saying about the BRICS bloc as well. I mean, with the expansion of the bloc, I think now accounting for almost 30% of the world's trade, that is a significant amount of volume that's going to move through there. And if China says, look, we don't need to be the center of the world, we just need to be the center of our little block. And if EVs, like if the BRICS bloc, for example, takes BYDs over Teslas, that's enough to sustain the BYD business. Let's not be under any illusions about that. But I think when we look at things like infrastructure as well, that becomes the next step, right? Is that new block, or however the new markets shape up, you then sit and say, we'll collaborate on infrastructure development, we'll collaborate on putting in the EV stations and the EV roads and everything. And you almost build a world where in the past, everything needed other countries to kind of work, or to globalization to exist. Now you're building a segment where you can exist without a certain portion of the world. And that historically has always fueled wars. Oh, you don't have the oil, we want the oil. Hey, how about a war? Isn't that how
Exactly.
things work?
It's like we're living in a globalized world that's becoming less global. That's literally how it feels. It's like, okay, we're all one big globe, all integrated, etc., etc. But the way we're operating, or different nations, the way they're operating, is almost like, I actually really don't care about you. I don't care about you. I care about me and me alone.
Yeah, it is. And again, I mean, the nuances between Trump and Harris, but, the Biden administration, as I said, has been, putting more pressure on China. A lot of it around tech and trying to stop China get ahead technologically. But of course, Brexit, which happened at the same time as Trump. I mean, back in 2016, we are in a world, and it's weird because when the Berlin Wall came down in November 1989, we thought it was kumbaya and we were all going to be brothers in love and everything like that. And actually, we've kind of gone the other way instead, back into our huts.
As the world becomes more global, it becomes less global. We're going to leave Market Matters there for this week, but as we said, we're going to be live streaming this segment every single Monday from here on out for the foreseeable future, seeing how that works out. So if you've missed the live streams, we will make sure to invite you and remind you before we do the next ones, but they're going to be on the YouTube channel. We'll see if we can do live streaming from our TikTok channel as well, so that you guys can enjoy that from there. But we once again thank our team and our friends at Trive for allowing us to have this segment and make this segment possible. Until the next one, that's Market Matters.